Hello everybody and welcome back. My name is Curtis Kaboom and today is October 14th, 2025. That means I've been doing Kurt-Tober for 2 whole weeks already. Anyway, yesterday's movie might have been a little bit too intense for some people, so I decided to bring the mood down a little bit and watch a horror comedy. This creature feature has an all-star cast that has a monster that you wouldn't really expect to be a monster. So, today's movie is Death of a Unicorn. Death of a Unicorn is a comedy horror that came out earlier in 2025. It is starring Jenna Ortega and Paul Rudd as a daughter and father who are off to a secluded mansion owned by a very rich and dying man. On the way, they hit none other than a unicorn, and a baby at that. And their best plan of action is to shove it in the back of their rental car. Having been splashed in the blood of the unicorn, they find out that it has healing properties. So the dying billionaire takes the blood and decides to inject it into his own blood, as one does, but miraculously all of his tumors disappear. So we should definitely just slap a label on that and sell it worldwide. But unfortunately, his scientists are unable to replicate the unicorn blood, so they have what they have. So they decide to call some of their blood-sucking, in this case literally, friends, who are very rich to try and sell it to them at a high cost. And I love that the main villain of this is corporate spin. Every time somebody tries to tell them this is a bad idea, they in turn turn it around, spin their words, and make it all about profits. Even the name of this movie is technically a lie, because the baby unicorn is not actually dead. It should be renamed to Kidnapping of a Unicorn, because the parents are mad and want their baby back. And once the slaughter starts, you have a pretty fun time watching these unicorns go on a rampage. This movie gives ample amounts of people for the unicorns to kill, be it scientists or soldiers or the billionaires. And the absolute funniest person in this movie is Will Poulter, who you might remember from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, or We Are the Millers. He plays a perfect rich douchebag who is a frat bro through and through. He stops at nothing to maximize profit, even when people are being slaughtered all around him. But he may slow down once in a while to snort ground-up unicorn horn. Somehow he gets a lot more laughs than even Paul Rudd in this movie. And I would like to point out that this is the second horror comedy that Jenna Ortega has been in this Kurt-Tober. Now, I'm someone who genuinely likes Jenna Ortega as an actress, but I can see horror fans being a little bit fatigued of her being in everything. My only response to that is, I'm glad that she's in so many horror movies, because it kind of shines a light on the horror movie industry. If she's getting people to pay attention to smaller horror movies like this, that's gotta be a good thing. And in this movie, she is the one figuring out what exactly is going on. She's the one doing all the research and trying to warn everyone about the unicorns. And these unicorns are very well designed. They get just about as creepy as you could ever imagine unicorns being. They are the size of Clydesdales and have velociraptor claws and fangs coming out of their mouths. And every step of the way, the humans are confident that they can take care of this unicorn menace. And always proven wrong. I thought that this was a creature feature, but these unicorns are actually pretty smart too. This almost turns into a slasher movie, and a pretty good slasher movie at that. I love when slashers have a large group of characters that you love to hate, and a couple good ones that you don't want to see get killed. That's where the tension lies in, but you just are there to see these terrible people get killed. But surprisingly, these unicorns don't really have any kind of magical powers other than healing. I probably would have liked to have seen a little bit of magic stuff going on, but I guess it doesn't have to be friendship is magic. Sometimes it can be blood is magic. So we get to the end, and the ever-important question of whether or not I would recommend Death of a Unicorn. I think this movie's comedy is actually very well done, and Surprisingly, the CGI unicorns doesn't bother me that much. They don't look bad for being CGI. I think this movie just barely squeaks out of the maybe category, and I do recommend it. There isn't much that differentiates this from other slasher movies. It feels pretty generic for the genre, other than what creature they decided to do the slashing. I think it's at least worth a watch, if nothing else, just for the creative idea of a friendly mythical creature being a slasher. I wonder what mythical creature they could pick next. Maybe a leprechaun?